Well, hello everyone. I can see that some of the attendees are already online. So if you are online, I would really appreciate if you can just message us so we would know exactly who is online so we can decide to start, or shall we wait for a couple of minutes till we have more people around. If you allow me, I will start by introducing myself. My name is Gamal Sadek. I'm the General Manager of Al Ketbi Group. We are specialized into tourism, hospitality, and destination consultancy. Today, we are doing this co-webinar with Mr. Nidal from Orient Planet, and we'll be covering a very important subject, which is how we can deal with the post-COVID situation for the tourism industry and the hospitality sector, not only within the Middle East, but the model we're going to be discussing today can apply on a global level. Therefore, it would be very important that we can have few questions after our presentation. And I would really appreciate that you can either during the webinar, if you'd like to have some questions, you can send it as a message, or you can wait till we finish our presentation and then we can have an open discussion for any specific question that you would like to have. So currently we are having a proper number of participants, and we will be very happy to start the conversation very, very shortly. As mentioned before, the subject of today is the Travel Sector Yield Management Guideline post-COVID 2019. So we're going to discuss the theory and the best practice and how it is implemented and what kind of result we can expect out of this. 5 key measures, which is define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. If I go through this, it will take a lot of time to discuss each single point, but I'll try to be very brief. The first step we need to do is to take into consideration the different 5 factors. The first one is define. We need to be very specific in defining our target. And I'll take an example that can apply for hotels, but it applies for destinations and travel agents as well. So the first thing we need to do is to define exactly what is the segment where we need to improve. So here, as example, we need to increase X region hotels RevPAR by 15%. RevPAR, it's revenue per available room, for those who are not familiar with this term, assuming by 15% from January 2021 to December 2021. So we have the time, we have the figure, and we have the segment that we need to work on. So that's the first step. The second step would be the measure. What are we measuring? So we need to collect data on everything we have. So the first thing we need to work on is the previous historical data for the same measurement we need to analyze, and work on the occupancy and average room rate for the same period over the last 3 years, and then the monthly arrivals by source market over the same period for the last 3 years. The analysis is that we start analyzing the lowest and highest RevPAR per period within yearly performance for the hotel. So we need to know when is our peak when it comes to the RevPAR and our lowest RevPAR all over the year, and then identify high outbound destinations in parallel with the lowest RevPAR. So which means that if my lowest RevPAR, let's say, is in June, I need to make sure that I need to define the source markets where they have a high outbound during June as well, because this is where I need to focus my work on. Improve. How do we improve? We start implementing an activity plan targeting the high outbound destination in parallel with the low RevPAR period. So we can match our low season with the high season outbound from the source markets we have. And then we measure each activity direct impact on the project scope of work that we had in the define phase. Control is that we don't want to do this only once. We need to create a control system to improve the activities in order to keep an ongoing measurable result and to maintain the performance we reach through the project. So this part was the theory. Let us now go very quickly through another part, which is basically the realistic part of it and how it can be implemented. So, assuming that there is a destination now, since we talked about hotel, we need to talk about the destination to give an example. Okay. So we need to define the destination occupancy ratios all over the year. Let's say we take X city in the Gulf, and this destination has a certain occupancy level throughout the year. And then we start identifying the outbound markets that are in line with the seasonality when it comes to bookings, channels, and trends. So that's an example of a destination occupancy level, high occupancy in Jan, Feb, and then it starts going down. You can see that in June and July, we have lowest occupancy levels. And these are the areas where we can have a higher performance when it comes to our activities. So these are the availability of the room nights within a specific destination. So lower is the occupancy, higher are the available rooms that we have in a destination. So in the low season, we can see that we have a very high availability of room nights that have not been sold on June, let's say, over 350,000 room nights unsold. And that's the whole concept of the project. We need to work on the unsold units. We're not going to be taking into consideration those who are sold. No, we are trying to improve the RevPAR, so to occupy every single unoccupied room. That's an example of a source market. Let's say that we have a source market coming, let's say, from the CIS market. We can see that the seasonality of this market is very similar to the occupancy levels we have of our destination. That's why we will not be really much interested in this, because their outbound is very low during the months of June, and this is not what we're looking at. So here we're going to be having some issues when it comes to the flexibility, because we don't have flexibility when it comes to the rooms and availability and limitation. That's why we are not going to be considering this kind of destinations as our targeted destinations, because it will have a very low ROI on our project. The destination B, that's another market. Let's say that that's the Chinese market. We can see in months of June, they have a very high outbound, which is perfect because we have a very low occupancy in June. And this would be an ideal destination that we can start tackling during that period. Why? Because we have a very high rates flexibility. Since the rooms are unoccupied, we can be very flexible when it comes to our rate. Accommodation availability, we're going to have a high availability. And the destination will become very competitive because they can have very good packages that we can sell. And the impact on the promotional activities we will be doing will be extremely high. And this will give us a high cooperation as well from the private sector and the government sector together to fill the gap during this specific period. So the recommendations, we need to have, this applies for a hotel, for a travel agent, and for a destination. We need to create a full destination or hotel occupancy yearly chart, create monthly room nights unsold chart, identify which are the destinations that do have high outbound during our low occupancy periods, create and implement a clear action plan for category B, which is the destinations with high potential, and work on this specific plan and measure the results of the campaigns. That's in general. How we are going to be doing this, to give much more examples, this is what we can discuss in the Q&A phase after that. I'll stop sharing my screen. Thank you very much. I hope it was useful, and I'll give the word to my colleague, Mr. Nidal. I hope I did not take too much time, Mr. Nidal. Thank you very much for waiting.
Okay, so apologies for this technical detail. I'm Nidal Abou Zaki, the Managing Director of Orient Planet Group. I'm sorry for this technical delay. Is it working fine? So I'm going to speak about the marketing challenges, trends, and opportunities in the pro-COVID period. So as you know that, this pandemic has forced us to change, and change isn't coming, it's already here. As you see, the travel, tourism, and hospitality sector is among the most affected sectors by COVID. And health safety is now the #1 priority of customers, and marketing strategies should reflect this. One of the major challenges is that now 43% of tourists, according to some studies, now look for business with a clear, thorough sanitization plan. According to most of these statistics, the recovery period is going to take 18 to 24 months. So of course, this is a kind of an issue for the industry. Therefore, unfortunately, we have to be prepared for some challenges like continued losses in revenues, renegotiation of contract terms with suppliers of goods, placing more employees on unpaid leave, and partial suspension of operation. What this means for the travel and tourism sector. The data-driven marketing is increasingly used to narrow down the target audiences. So the opportunity is either we adapt or we lose out. As Mr. Jamal said, that now marketing activities are based on data, so we cannot really go back to the old marketing methods and then advertise and promote in the same way that we were marketing before. So how we should revisit the marketing strategy? So we have some facts here. There was a study conducted in the US, and then it's saying that the easing of travel limitations won't immediately restore activities back to pre-pandemic levels. So even if there are easing of travel limitations, however, it's not going to have direct effect on our going back to the 2019 levels, unfortunately. So over 50% of customers are reluctant to travel and stay in a hotel anytime soon, which is a problem. Only around 1/3 are prepared to go on vacation and book a hotel room in the next few months. And around 17% of customers are willing to travel and stay in a hotel only after a vaccine becomes available. So what is trending at the moment is that, there's a big marketing shift from the written content, when we do marketing, from written content to interactive visual content. And then there's a more focus and way on the domestic tourism. Most of the GCC countries here, for example, they announced that they are going to encourage the domestic tourism over international tourism, because as a kind of a reaction to the pandemic. There was a survey conducted, and I put the link for the survey, that at least 30% of those surveyed opted to go on a destination that they could reach by car, so people have less aviation travel. And then there's increasing demand for wellness or outdoor experiences as a result of months-long quarantine. And there's a trend for staycations, means people take vacations by staying in a hotel nearby. just like to try to break their routine activities. So there's more and more digital engagement. So basically content is moving from written to visual to interactive. Live video streaming, like a lot of hotels now are using live video streaming for as a unique selling point. They are bringing some influencers. There's live streaming of events in certain hotels. And there's more and more engagement via digital campaigns, blogs, newsletters, websites, and social media. So as you see, there's a kind of a digital transformation. So what the post-COVID customers are looking for now, they are looking for brands that are effectively address safety needs. So safety is becoming #1 issue, and we have like a few examples to share. They want value for money, so they are not paying like before. They want discounts, they want like value for money. They want individual attention, they want added value services, and they wanted integrated experiences. Last week, I was called by a local hotel group here, and they say that, if you can stay, if you would like to use our facilities being a member, you can get 30% discount, you can get free upgrade, you can get 20% discount on food outlets, and late checkout till 6 o'clock. So this is kind of an integrated experience. They are encouraging people to locally from the neighborhood to use hotels. So I'm living in Dubai, so Dubai hotels are offering me these kind of opportunities. So that people in this business should convey to customers that safety is #1 priority. And then they have to set up safety protocols within the premises and then show this to the guests. Generate buzz around enhanced sanitization and disinfection procedure. Display sanitization and cleanliness certificates from relevant authorities. I think there's one certificate now that Dubai government is issuing. And leverage social media on their digital platforms for customer engagement. So this is a sample of what Dubai is doing. There's something called Dubai Assured Stamp, which was launched in July. So again, like people in this industry, in terms of marketing, what is a major advice to them is to create innovative virtual experience on social media platforms, campaigns that offer free staycations, travel to influencers. So basically, I have 2 examples with me that I will share with you soon, how destinations are using influencers. And then implementation of more flexible cancellation policies. I see that before the pandemic, there was a lot of rigid cancellation policies. It would be good to facilitate this. And then campaigns such as welcome back promos to encourage tourists, so that each, I think, destination is having a good database, and it would be good to keep in touch with customers. And personalized emails are still effective marketing tools to connect with customers. I mean, my personal experience is that there are a lot of hotels, especially on the Palm, that they are really keep sending different kind of promotions and incentives on weekly basis to me. So again, one of the tips is target and reward loyal customers to drive business activities. So basically, I think each destination or hotel group, they have a kind of a database, and it would be good to provide rewards for loyal customers. Of course, we need to position ourselves as healthy and safety destination. And then we need to highlight the leisure activities that can be enjoyed while adhering to health protocols. And then hotels can offer in-room fitness to safety guests. So some hotels started to provide some certain kind of equipment to exercise in the rooms privately. And analyze inbound travel data to understand where guests are arriving from and target those areas first. So my friends in Emirates Airlines, for example, said that there are 3 major destinations, which is the UK, Australia, and India. So these are 3 attractive points or destinations that we can really promote our hotel or our destination or our facility to them, because this is a kind of a the majority of the customers are coming from. So these are some examples. So Emirates Airlines during the pandemic, they promoted on different kind of social media platforms a video called Do You Remember? It's only a few seconds. When the entire fleet was grounded and global aviation was shut down. And then, you know, during the lockdown, the campaign reminded travelers of what they were missing. And then they implemented a wide range of measures designed to reassure travelers that it is unlikely to contract COVID-19 on its planes. And then I will show you the video. It's only a few seconds.
Do you remember when they closed the schools and kids tried to learn online? And when we heard the term social distancing for the very first time? Do you remember when we worked from home and actually missed the office and even the people who didn't get along? When the fun of flying wasn't there for us anymore, but we had to be strong. All of those things we took so much for granted were now off limits to us every day. A walk in the park, a bit of a lark, a kiss in the dark. Do you remember when we stayed away from the gyms and watched too much TV so we put on weight and learned not to hate anything or anybody anymore except COVID-19? Do you remember when the airlines were grounded, which meant we missed our loved ones even more, but the whole world came together and said enough, no more?
So as you see that it's an emotional campaign during the pandemic that we will come back. So Marriott, as an example, this is another idea that, you know, has positioned itself as a global hospitality brand with a next level commitment to safety and health. And they launched the Global Cleanness Council initiative to ensure ever higher standards of cleanness across the portfolio. And you know, the council is developing next level of global hospitality cleanness standards, norms, and behavior to reduce risk. And then they are ready to roll out technologies across its properties, such as ultraviolet light and electrostatic sprayers. So Anantra, on the other hand, they created another campaign, which is called Anantra Escapism. So it's a social media campaign during the lockdown. And then under this hashtag, Anantra's properties are sharing videos, content on and healthy living tips. The brand has been actively blogging about wellness tips and recipes. And they launched the Stay with Peace of Mind program to highlight the brand's renewed focus on guests' well-being. Emphasizing on transparency by making COVID-19 related actions measures prominent on its website for easier access, and deployment of relevant technologies and appointment of a dedicated guest guardian to ensure full compliance with local and global health safety measures. This is a sample of a hotel in India on makemytrip.com. And then they are showing the property's safety certification along with an availability of doctor on call. And as you see here, that they are putting My Safety, Safe and Hygiene Stays, so that this is a kind of a major sales tool at the moment. So this is two examples of influencers campaigns. So the two images on the left side are for Khalid Al-Amri. He was called to Maldives, to Taj Exotic Resort and Spa. And he spent a few days and then he was broadcasting daily from there. So this is a kind of a point of attraction. And on the right side, there's a famous blogger and influencer who's living in Singapore called Nas Daily. And he came to the UAE and for, I think about 10 days, he was just like broadcasting a lot of stories about the major attractions in Dubai and the UAE. Of course, as we say that in every crisis, there is an opportunity. So what are the available realistic opportunities that are available for us? That as we say that, you know, we are moving from rigid content to more interactive and video content. So it's very important to highlight the human element when we speak about brand loyalty. And then, the word sustainability and safety is becoming a kind of a buzzword. And then, we need to capitalize more on the demand from the domestic tourism. So here, for example, in the UAE, now the government is having an ambitious plan to develop internal tourism. Same thing in Saudi Arabia. So, of course, this plan was there, and now it was accelerated with COVID, because with the absence of international visitors, or with the less numbers of international visitors, there's more and more focus on the local tourism. And then to create appealing experiences that provide connected feelings while observing social distancing, like, emotional videos, like the one that we saw now from Emirates, and stand out through the implementation of new technologies to provide no-touch experiences. Again, to enjoy undivided attention of customers through creative, catchy digital campaigns, to introduce attractive incentives, travel and staycation deals. So now I think that if you see to different websites, there are a lot of attractions and package deals. And then it would be advisable to introduce zero fees for cancellations of bookings and date changes, so that we give the customers the flexibility to change dates for certain reasons. And then it could be advisable to launch work from hotel deals instead of work from home. I think that when I spoke to a lot of friends who are forced by their companies to work from home, that somehow that they've been working from home for a long time and they have some kind of depression. So it would be really a point of attraction to say that why you work from home, work from a hotel and enjoy. It would be a kind of for business and for leisure. So digital is the future, because with social distancing and then unavailability of people to travel, so we are moving in a kind of we are making quick transformation to the digital world. And then I think that one of the key points for this is that how we are going to really adapt our business formula to move into a kind of a digital way of communication with our clients. Now, in terms of business clients, I think that hotels, unfortunately, and airlines are going to face less and less people who are traveling, because apparently this pandemic has opened the way for more online meetings. And I know from big multinationals that we are dealing with here that they have less tendency from the top management to fly, since they can do most of their meetings online. So that's definitely a major challenge for the travel and tourism, that the business traveler at the moment is having less numbers. And then I think we are starting to move from the pandemic. This is not going to be recovered soon. So there will be more maybe direction on hotels to move to attract the leisure tourism. So in terms of digital, definitely like regularly, one of the advices is regularly communicating with your audience right now presents a valuable opportunity to stand out and stay on top of their minds. With most of your target audience online, now is the time to really strengthening digital marketing strategies. So we move from traditional marketing to digital marketing tools. An effective digital marketing strategy must focus on rolling out fun and creative content with neighborhood-specific targeting. So basically, at the moment, as you see, most of the hotels and destinations and airlines are going to more of social videos rather than serious videos, to more of human elements, and then more of emotional messages. And then statistics are showing that 40% of consumers are spending more time on in-house media consumption, so that we can target them easily with the digital content. And then a smart combination of social media marketing and content marketing can generate impressive return on investment. Again, the right kind of content is all about positivity, transparency, and honesty. So basically, one of the advices is to avoid posting unimaginative generic messaging like before. So basically, we see that the marketing messages before the pandemic and after have made a lot of changes. And now we are moving to more creative content, which is meaningful and relatable. And then open rates of email newsletters have increased by 40%. So basically, people have more tendency to open emails than before during the lockdown. And newsletters are still effective in this way. I mean, e-newsletters, of course. So some statistics that I always, for the statistics, I put the references. It's estimated that by 2022, 82% of all content creation will be in video format. So that's a kind of a quick shift from the traditional content and from newspaper and from text content. Data analysis to derive meaningful and actionable insights to radically reshape marketing strategies. So now when we run campaigns on LinkedIn or on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, we can really somehow control the data. We can really specify our target audience geographically, sometimes like language-wise, sometimes age group, and so on, so that we can reach our targeted audience in a cost-effective and measurable way. Don't forget that at the end of the day, we don't have the marketing budgets of before, as most of the hotel groups and destinations, they have less marketing budget. So it's really important to spend our marketing budget in a very effective and efficient way. So the key takeaways is that travel and hospitality marketing and communication must reflect the new reality. So we are living in a new reality, and our marketing efforts and our sales efforts should reflect that we cannot continue in the old methods. Whatever you do, do not disengage with customers. It's very important to create like communication with customers, because customers will come back. If you see the campaign of Emirates Airlines that they did during the complete lockdown, that they are speaking that we will come back. So basically, it's very important to engage with customers, even though they are not coming to use the facility at the moment. Avoid generic tone-deaf messaging. So nowadays, we cannot really run our advertising in a very generic way, and then we don't know we cannot measure. The beauty about social media and digital marketing is that somehow there are some measurement tools. Stick to mindful and conscious communication. Don't forget that digital is the future, and then it's the era of videos and vloggers. And then to always depend on the data. So thank you very much for your for listening, and then we would like to open the floor for questions. So basically, there's a question: is that which one will lead the recovery, leisure travel or business travel? I think that we spoke in the in my presentation that business travel will take more time, and then leisure travel definitely will recover faster. I don't know whether you have something to comment on, Jamal.
Yes, if you don't mind. See, as we discussed before, Nidal, that the future now we need to base all our answers on data. So we're not going with assumptions. We need to have a very clear and accurate data, and this is where the new technology comes in. Let me see, if you don't mind, I can share my screen. Okay.
Since we have a lot of questions, Jamal, let's proceed, because we want to give the chance to
okay, so basically the answer for this is that currently, if we take, I'm reading from accurate data coming for Dubai. Let's say if we take Dubai as a benchmark from October 2020 to April 2021, the ratio is that leisure bookings represent so far, when it comes to business on the books, 60%. And then we have 10% for group bookings and another 30% for corporate or business bookings. So that's a very accurate data based on the actual bookings for Dubai over the next 5 months. So this is a very accurate and detailed data, which confirms what you mentioned, Nidal.
Okay, there's a technical question which is saying, how's your channel distribution strategy looks like before and post COVID? I think that you could answer this.
Yes. Okay. This will depend on where are you located and what kind of business you are running. Is it a hotel? Is it a travel agent? Is it a destination? And exactly based on the markets as well. Let's say that if we have a look on the data we have currently, we can say that the #1 market to, let's say, Dubai for the next 5 months, it's the UK market, with bookings between 1 night and 21 nights stay are around 35,000 bookings. Out of the 35,000 bookings, we have 62% that are done through GDS channels, and the rest is basically between online bookings and direct bookings. And this is for both hotels and airlines. However, if we go to the second segment, it's Germany, and there we can see that figures are completely different, and the segmentation and the distribution channels are different. So it depends on which market you are targeting. You will have different ratios when it comes to your segmentation and booking channels.
Okay, so basically another question is that to what extent does user-generated content help travel and hospitality marketing?
Okay, you want to answer this or shall I answer this?
Yes, if you would like to comment, and then I will comment after you.
Okay, we worked previously on many different UGC content campaigns, and to be very honest, is much more, let's say, straightforward than working with influencers. People really appreciate this because they feel that they are really connected, and they feel that this is not created only for the purpose of marketing. It's much more genuine. So usually, yes, it gives a much better message. However, the UGC should be very well combined or created or brought together in order to give the proper message. Because if you don't control properly your UGC, you might end up having problems in the message and the branding you are referring to.
Yes, I would like to comment extra, that there are a lot of multinational companies. Unfortunately, they hire some people in Asia to develop kind of leading content. That means, leading positive content. So not all the user-generated content is genuine, unfortunately. I mean, this is my personal experience in this. So there's one more question. Is tracking of vacation spending patterns and underlying drivers pivotal to narrowing down target segments? So basically the question is that if tracking of vacation spending patterns and underlying drivers pivotal to narrowing down target segments. And I think that this is part of your speech when you mentioned that it's really very important now for destinations, whether they are airlines, whether they are countries or cities, or whether they are hotels, to have more data analysis. So basically we based our marketing strategy and our business strategy based on figures. So this is, again, maybe you can highlight this a little bit more.
Well, actually, let's put it that way. It will be different from one market to the other. It will be different from one outbound destination to the other. Some markets will have an impact, other markets will not be impacted. However, what I wanted to highlight in this, what you need to work on right now is to know exactly which are the markets that are open for your destination or for your hotel, which are the markets that are currently able to make bookings to your hotel or to your city or to your destination. And based on the data for these specific markets, you need to start working on your actual market share. You need to start identifying what are going to be your unique selling points for those specific markets, and then start doing your activities when it comes to campaigns and marketing accordingly. Booking windows, because I can see here there is a question related to the booking windows. Booking windows are different based on, let's say, if you look at the UK market, currently, post-COVID and pre-COVID, booking windows changed. Before, it used to be around 45 days. Now, it's much less. We can see that we have 17 and 16 days from UK market. That's post-COVID. But remember, Dubai opened to UK. So now we can see booking coming from UK, and it's normal that it's not 45 days because it just opened like a month and a half ago. So we need to keep on monitoring this kind of data, and accordingly, you would be able to know when you know the window booking, you would be able to know when exactly you need to conduct your campaign, and accordingly, you can measure how successful is your campaign.
Okay, let's go through some of the questions quickly. There's a good comment from Farah Shaheen. So maybe after the written questions, we'll let's open the microphone and let her comment on this. So one of the questions is that will artificial intelligence powered service robots that reduce face-to-face interaction between guests and staff become the new norm in the region's hospitality market? I think this will take time because, you know, it's not easy to really develop robots in that kind of a short span of time and then, you know, put them in front of guests. I don't know how guests are going to accept to talk to robots. Maybe you can comment on this, Jamal.
Well, actually, we have been having a discussion on the similar subject last week in another webinar, and we worked on the paper specifically for this and in a conference, online conference that we had. And basically, when people will decide to travel, they want to have less interaction with the technology. Now, all our life is getting digitalized. The decision of traveling is to get away from the digital service and from the computerized system. So definitely, people will be looking forward to interact with people while they are traveling, and giving them a digital assistance. Trust me, it's not going to be what they're going to be looking for. They're going to be looking for digital assistance maybe to make their booking, to plan their trip. But when it comes to actual trip, they want to feel that they are out of their box and they are not only communicating with another digital channel. That's my comment on this.
Okay, one more question is that which demographic of leisure travelers are likely to lead the market's recovery? So we are speaking about demographic of leisure travelers.
Again, so it depends
I can answer that. I think that when we are speaking about business travelers, we are speaking about business people above 30. These are the nature of the business travelers. And then as we said that business traveling is going to be less and less because when we started to make Zoom calls like this and you know, you are sitting here and then you can talk to people from all over the world, there's less and less tendency, especially on multinationals who are really big spenders for business travels. So this is going to, I think, to change, and then less and less business travelers are going to, unfortunately, we are going to lose a segment from the market. And then when it's coming to leisure travel, I think the demographic is young travelers. So people who have the tendency to travel during these times. So there will be more focus on the leisure travelers who are from young age. think that, you know, Jamal, if you have anything to say on that front.
Well, actually, my answer is always the same. You need to be very specific when it comes to which market, which destination you are asking about. We cannot generalize. We cannot always. Let me give you an example. You will find a lot of corporate or business travelers between specific cities and less among other cities. It depends on what kind of business those cities are running. Are those business hubs? Are those leisure hubs? Is the destination where the people are traveling from it's more leisure or business oriented? We always need to know which market we're talking to and which channel and which period. Because if we check the period between October, trust me, starting from this November till March, we will be seeing a huge different change into the segmentation when it comes to the corporate traveler or business travelers. Because if we manage to open some new destinations, let's say to Dubai, there are going to be a lot of corporate travelers that will come here because Dubai is a business hub, and in Dubai you have a lot of head offices and corporate offices. So definitely you will have some. Again, if you do the same exercise, let's say you do it in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt, you will not have this kind of business travelers because it's a leisure destination. So in order to answer the question, we always need to identify the city, the period, and which markets we're talking about. Nidal, if you don't mind, I can see that there is a question here. How much testing is taken into consideration in your strategy? I think he's talking about the destination yield management strategy. Let me give you a very clear answer on this. This strategy was implemented among 6 different destinations, hotel chains, and travel agents. The lowest impact was an increase of 22% over 6 months period, and the highest one was 54% over the same period as well. So far, results have been extremely well, with a great contribution and tested among different segments and different periods and different clientele as well.
Okay, there's one more question, and then we'll move to some, verbal questions. So how important is private-public partnership in the recovery of travel and tourism and hospitality? I think that if you see that most of the countries in the region, especially the GCC countries, have put plans by the government to encourage, domestic tourism, and then they put recovery plans, especially in Saudi Arabia and UAE, so that the government will inject some incentives for this sector in terms of, highlighting the destinations and then restructuring the offers. And then I think that there will be a lot of meetings in the future with the private sector on how we can overcome this pandemic. So I think the corrective measures that the governments here are making will start to show some results soon. So by this, we can finalize the written questions. I think there is a comment from Farah. Fadal, Jamal.
I'm sorry, regarding the contribution between government and private sector, I would like to add one thing. It's very, very, very crucial, because if the government is not targeting a specific market or a specific outbound destination, no matter how much the private sector will work on it by itself, it will never work. Let me give you an example. Assuming that you are a hotel, you are based, let's say, in Dubai, and you decided that you want to target the Polish market. Okay, so you start doing your campaigns to Poland, talking to another travel agent in Poland and stuff, and then you discover that people from Poland, let's say, they don't have direct flights to Dubai, or they cannot get visa to Dubai, or maybe Emirates did not open yet the route to Dubai. So you always need to know exactly what are the support given by the government for a specific market. And then you can start accordingly doing your plans. And definitely sometimes you'll find that the government are doing roadshows or marketing campaigns. Then you can work together and cooperate on it. However, don't start doing any activity before knowing the official or government support or government activities when it comes to a specific sector or destination. And this applies for hotels, travel agents, or for destinations as well.
I think there's one more question in writing that came, is that I believe uncertainty is the main driver of 2021. When can I travel? Which destination are open? So basically, he's speaking about the free cancellation. I mean, is this a reality that, you know, is it easy for airlines and hotels to really allow cancellations? Because in the past, you know, it was really difficult to cancel. Sometimes, you know, you lose the whole money. So is it easy? Is it easy for destinations to accept these kind of last minute cancellations? Is it feasible?
I think, to be realistic, no. It's not business-wise, it's not feasible to have free cancellations, because you cannot sustain a business based on bookings to have free cancellations. However, we can always reduce the cancellation period. Okay, last minute will not be accepted. Less than 24 hours cannot, but more than this, yes, it can be much more flexible. However, the uncertainty and not knowing when we'll travel, I'm sorry, this is not valid anymore, because with the amount of data we have right now, we can easily find out which are the destinations that are open, where are the countries where we can travel, what kind of measures are required in each country, and what kind of business is coming from which country. All of these data are available. There are specialized agencies that work on this. And once you have data, you don't have uncertainty, you don't have black vision. No, everything is clear. You just need to commit on working on data and numbers.
Okay, Farah is clarifying in writing that 80% of the posts to create engagement, like curated posts, blogs, and evergreen posts. So she's meaning that 80% of the posts should be engagement posts, and then 20% should be related to sales and business only. So this is her opinion when it's coming to social listening and on social media. I think all in all, this pandemic is going to, just like to summarize what we say, is that it's going to be with us for some time. Even if we find a suitable cure for this pandemic, I think that all the reports are showing that it will take us some time to recover. It's not going to be like a quick recover. It's going to be a gradual recover. And in reality, I think all the hotel operators and the destination operators should expect like there will be slow recovery, and then they should put plans for new realities with new realistic figures, including partial operation. Means, you know, like if the hotel is having 30 floors, maybe they cannot run the 30 floors. And then the stake or the cake of visitors and customers is shrinking. So that means I think that smart marketing managers in these destinations should look for creative ways on how to attract the customers, taking into consideration that we have much less customers than before. I think, Jamal, if you can comment on this, because this is a kind of a major finding.
Well, yes, definitely. When it comes to numbers, we're not going to be having the same volume as before, at least to be realistic during the next 6 months. Maybe after that, things will change. However, for the next 6 months, you need to know your new market share. You need to know what is the size of the market and what is your new share compared to what it used to be before. And then accordingly, you need to plan your operations, you need to plan your costs, which will have a direct impact on your profit margins. That's why you need to know where do you stand. You need to know exactly out of 100, you used to get 5. Now out of 50, how many are you getting? Are you working on the right markets? Are you targeting the right segments? Maybe you can increase your share if you are looking for a different kind of clientele or a different segment that you never worked on. So my recommendation, try to find much more data, accurate data, live data, and accordingly do your activities and plans. Don't sit and wait, because if you sit and wait, nothing will happen.
So I think that, there is one more comment that came from people that, hotels and destinations used to always depend on a big segment on the, travelers. And I think now that with the this kind of new reality, hotels and destinations should give like great incentives to people inside the city. So if we are living in Dubai or Riyadh, I think now that hotels, for example, could look for long-term commitments. So in the past, I think that they used to make more money from the individual room sale. So they used to enjoy like 80 or 90% occupancy rate. And now this is dropping maybe to 20% or maybe even less. So I think that some of the rooms, like some of their floors, can be switched to long-term stays with realistic prices. So we tried here for some of our guests to book like certain rooms during the this period, and apparently that hotels are still adamant to use the same market rates. Some of them are really adamant, though, like some of the hotels are having 70% or even 80% empty spaces, yet they are not able to accommodate themselves to reduce their cost and accept like to sell some kind of long-term packages for people who are living inside the city. So in the past, I think the nature of the guest of the hotel or the destination is always a tourist. At the moment, with less and less tourists, I think that the hotel operators and the destination operators should accommodate themselves to really go into a more realistic approach. And then I think in the way that the air tickets are sold. So according to my knowledge that, a plane, usually if you book early, you can get a cheap rate. So basically they have classes inside the plane. And then as you move towards the date, the rate is increasing. I think that, they have to really make some kind of packages and then market segmentation so that the hotel can really occupy a certain percentage from the neighboring business or from the local business. I don't know if you have something to comment on, Jamal. And after that, there's a question from Rania, which we will read.
Actually, let's start with, if you don't mind, with what Rania mentioned. It's not a question, actually, it's a statement. Major challenges now in the COVID-19 quarantine period imposed by governments. This affects outbound bookings tremendously, especially that this type of data is continuously changing. Well, actually, yes, that's true. For some destinations, for other destinations, it's not. So that's why, and this is exactly what I mentioned before during the presentation, we need to work on definite destinations and different markets that we know will contribute. The ongoing or continuous changes are happening in some markets, but since over a month now, there is some destinations, they said it very clearly that there is no more quarantine and we're not going to go back into quarantine no matter what happens. And those are the destinations that we need to focus on our activities and efforts in order to avoid any last-minute cancellations or any bad news. And now to comment on what Nidal just mentioned. Yes, we call it early bird bookings. So if you book long time in advance, you will have special discounts. But unfortunately, it will be a challenge because in some cities, people don't know what's happening next month. They don't know what's happening in the next couple of months. For them to plan to book in a hotel 2 or 3 weeks in advance, now it's harder. It can apply for weekends. Yes, if I'm planning to go on a weekend, let's say if we live in Dubai and we decide to go to a weekend in Ras Al Khaimah, yes, I can plan it 2 or 3 weeks in advance and get a special rate. And this is actually already happening. So it might be a good idea to start working on what we call it a staycation sector, or weekend or regional weekends. And this will apply very soon, and it's happening. But we're not only targeting this. This can be a good, what we call basic business to cover a minimum occupancy in a hotel or in a destination. But the extra step we need to do is to work, especially for those destinations that opened international airlines and opened for tourists, to start targeting the proper markets and the proper destinations where tourists are willing to travel. And again, this is through reading properly the data and having daily updates on what's happening.
Right. Is there any more questions? I mean, if you can write your question. Because if there's no more questions, we'll end the session.
Okay.
So I think that this is the end of our session since there are no more questions. So we'd like to thank you and apologies for the technical issue at the beginning of this webinar. And we hope that you can communicate with us. I think emails were mentioned in the presentation. So if you have anything to discuss, please send it to us by email. So thank you for listening. Thank you, Jamal, for being with me in this session. And hopefully we'll do future sessions that can be of beneficial for all of you. So thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you.